Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day it is you're listening to this. Welcome along to TurfCast Podcast episode 34, which is a podcast that will go down in history as our first ever vodcast, they call them. It's essentially just a podcast, but recorded on video, and that's what we're doing now. You can finally see my famous kitchen. This is where we always do the podcasts, here. It's a lot tidier than it normally is, to be fair, because obviously I know we're on TV. I've actually done my hair as well, which is unusual. Go on, what are you doing?
This is how we would stand normally.
Well, you're on the wrong side now.
You would be.
So you need to go the other way. You try to do, go that way, yeah. Yeah, there you go. Hi, Simon, welcome along to episode 34.
I'm not at the wall, you big dick.
What are you on about?
I would be facing you.
And also, I just faced you. Has this gone wrong? What are you trying to do here?
I'm trying to face your back door.
But I was just trying to face you then on the screen to make it look like we're talking to each other. I thought
No, I'm sitting where I would sit if I was in your kitchen, mate.
Right, as you can understand, this is why we haven't done this is why we haven't done a video cast before, because it's just already turned into a bit of a shambles. So we'll crack on. How are you doing anyway, buddy?
I'm good, thank you. You?
Yeah, I'm alright. How's lockdown week 3 treating you?
Oh, it's alright, mate. We've got a bit of a tan today.
Yeah, well, it was a nice day, weren't it? Obviously, we can't go out as much as we'd
Beautiful
like.
Day.
But you did have a walk down my street. Obviously, just before anyone says anything, you did stay within the distance. You didn't even come in the garden, did you? I just stood at my front door. Sat top wall. That's about as close as you got.
Like a little gnome.
Yeah, well, you're about the right size, to be fair. But yeah, same for me really. I didn't really do well. I went for a bit of a walk up round Townley again as usual. As beautiful as Townley is, I'm starting to get bored of it now. I'm starting to get bored of it. I might go up Rowley/Ruley/ whatever you want to call it again tomorrow.
You need to find some new paths within Townley. There's some secret ones out there, mate. You got to find them. I
know, it's just always the same, innit? It's always the same. I walk past Bruncher Primary School, down past all the shrubbery down there, on towards the car park, which is now shut. Past the park and up towards Townley Hall, and then back. Sometimes I might go to where those cricket pitches are and that, but that's about as exciting as it gets.
Why don't you treat it as if Burnley have got beat, so you're taking another path to the turf at this one because you're superstitious?
You know what I actually did do today, though? When I came out of Townley, I walked up past where the old Townley High School AstroTurf used to be, walked up towards the spa there, and then turned right and went all the way down to where the welly used to be, where Turkish Kebab is now, and walked past the turf.
New challenges.
Yeah, that's just I essentially did that today. I just thought, I'll have a look at turf, see how it is, and you will be happy to know it's still there, it's still standing, everything's as it was.
Well, that will be news to our New Zealanders listeners' ears.
Well, it will, yeah. Obviously, if you are out of the country, yeah. Well, they won't, will they? If you are out of the country and you're an exile claret or a claret from abroad, you'll be glad to know that the turf is still there. It's still there and it's still standing. What's up? I can see you. What have you done?
So you can see me now.
Yeah, exactly. I can see you. I can see you. What's going on?
I bought a present for this very fucking day, and you got them both.
And I've what? You broke up a bit.
Got them both.
I've got them both.
Hey.
What's the present? I can't.
The fucking cups that said, but the thing that we had as props for when we do the live videos. Hey,
go on then. I'll go and get one.
Get your cup. Go and get it. I bought him these cups. I'll fill you in while he's going on his jollies. I bought these cups saying one day we're going to do video content, mate, and we'll have to sit there with our sort of cups out buyers. Now, I don't know if it'll be too pixelated for the phone, so...
Well, it's on my side, isn't it? So I'm recording it on this side. So it'll probably be perfect on my side. It'll be you that will be pixelated. But yeah, there's 2 cups. There's one from this one, and there's one from the day we finally beat Rovers as well. So I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll get me whiskey, and I'll put it in my mug. Yeah. There we go. Happy days. All so right. The video content present worked. There you go. Happy days. And you've got a cup that I got you as well. Cheers. Cheers. Lockdown cheers.
There you
go. What I do though, obviously, like I said, those of you watching for the first time, obviously we have been going for 34 episodes now. This is our 34th, and I always encourage listeners to get in touch and let us know their feelings on the podcast and stuff. We always like to hear from listeners. And we've had another message this week. This week we've had a message from Stuart Rhodes. I like Stuart, but that's an unfortunate last name, unfortunately. But Stuart says,
say something like that.
Stuart says, thanks for still getting the podcast out, guys. It gives me something to look forward to every Thursday. Hashtag keep up the good work. Hashtag Twitter Clarence. Hashtag UTC. And that, Stuart, is why we do it. Simon, we can also see when you're on your phone as well, by the way, now. I can see you on your phone.
I'm getting my running order up.
Oh, yeah, right. We should have been prepared, to be fair. But there you go. That's a message from Stuart. It's always good to hear from listeners, wouldn't you agree? Or were you not paying attention?
I do agree. So it's always good to listen to Mr. Jordan Rhodes.
Ooh, Stuart. I won't offend him that much. He's a regular listener to the pod, is our Stuart. So definitely do up the roads, Stuart Rhodes. So definitely don't want to offend him. Yeah, neither have I. Obviously, again, those of you who are regular listeners and now viewers will be fully aware that we have a bit of sponsorship by the guys at Pitch Sport. I can actually show you the app now. That's the Pitch Football app.
It's good, isn't it?
Yeah, I really enjoy it. So obviously hold on, where's the icon now? Hold on. Right, so that's the icon there, the first one where it says Pitch. You click on that, and then obviously it opens up that, and you can. No, the Pornhub's not there, mate. If I type in P, I were a bit worried, but no, there's nothing there. And every week I do a video asking you, the fans, questions. This week I asked you hold on, it's just started playing. I asked you what your favourite ever away day. It started playing. Look, that mug there. It started playing. I asked you what your favourite ever away day was. Go on. I'll let you go on.
My favourite what?
I'm saying I asked on Fan Time this week what the best ever away day was. And we've
what were the answers?
Well, I'll just let you. We spoke about it before, haven't you? I think you chose Blackburn, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other ones that stand out for you?
The Wembley one, I can't remember it, so it can't go up there. It's not allowed. My first away day, we were Oldham away. I mentioned that before. I really enjoyed that. And then the Derby away, I think, when we were dressed as Santa. Yeah,
that's a good one. I think that one's quite unique. Not a lot of people, obviously being a bit older and stuff like that, not a lot of people have said that one. We've had a few responses. Blackburn away has to be the highlight. It was full of emotion, followed closely by the Man United game and Aberdeen, being in a pub surrounded by Aberdeen fans and singing a lot of them. Well, in the pub.
Yeah, where did he watch it?
It were someone that we know that who was there with us.
Fucking fountain in the middle of Aberdeen, weren't he?
I remember that fountain. Another comment we've had. In terms of the result and atmosphere, Burnley beating Blackburn 1-0 down to 2-1 up. Danny Ings and Shackle. I've never felt emotion like it. In terms of the day itself, Blackpool away when the sun was out. Burnley fans everywhere. We won, which near enough secured promotion. Scott Arfield 1-0 away at Blackburn again. That was a great day. Also, Burnley versus Istanbul Başakşehir. There were about 450 clarets there that day, and the whole day was a brilliant game. It was all day. The entire day was brilliant, but the game was boring. It was a bit of a 0-0. So, yeah, well, I've got to put my teeth back in. So there's quite a lot of different sort of views out there as well. But this week I've put a new fan town question up, and I'm asking you, not you, Simon, you the fans, what your favourite ever Burnley goal was. But what is yours while we're on it? I'll ask you what your ever favourite goal was.
Favourite goal ever?
Burnley goal.
Oh, we've had this. I feel like am I in deja vu? Did we not talk about this with the J-Rod rocket left foot?
I don't remember if we did.
Fucking deja vu. This. I've been here before, mate.
The J Rocket, which one?
Welcome to me. Welcome to my memory. That were a good goal. What else? I
think we've discussed favourite this season, so that's probably what you're getting mixed up with. Yeah. I'm on about favourite ever now.
All right, yeah.
Obviously, a lot of fans. I'll just chat for a bit so you can get a bit of breathing space and think about what you want to say.
I'm under pressure, mate.
But a lot of fans are obviously a lot of fans. Yeah, of course it were, mate. A lot of fans.
Go
on.
Fucking no.
It's in the fan town bit. But a lot of fans will always mention the Orient game because obviously of what the goal meant. But in terms of an actual goal, it was just a bog standard goal, wasn't it? It was 2 Burnley goals in that game. The actual other one from Neil Grucock was a lot better in terms of finish. But obviously, I'm not just talking about the quality of the goal here. I mean, you can choose it for any reason whatsoever. If you feel like the Danny Ings pork at Blackburn, for example, it wasn't a great goal, but the sheer emotion attached to that goal, a lot of younger clarets especially will choose that one. A lot of older clarets tend to choose the Orient game. I think for me, my favourite goal's got to be Martin Patterson at Reading because it had that emotional attachment and it also had the incredible finish as well. It was just, and obviously I were there as well, so that helps. It was just absolutely incredible, and that is my favourite ever away day as well. Just on topic of that, but the goal as well was just absolutely.
I've got a few, you know.
Go on, we'll name them all then.
I've got a few.
Get them all out there.
Right,
we'll chat about them.
I don't remember what order and what year and everything, but do you remember Dean West at Stoke?
Yeah, I've tried looking for that on YouTube recently. I can't find it. It's winding me up no end. Can't find it, and I don't know why.
Some finish that he were right back. Dean West took about 45 minutes to take a throw in, and basically just come across him for those who don't remember, and he's come out and the typical right back esque finish that you can think of. Every right back seems to have that one chance where they go, I'm fucking having this.
Lauter's done it for Villa, hasn't it?
Top corner. Lauter's done it for Villa. There's been a few. Who were the one that we had from Fulham that did it on the left? John Harley?
John Harley did it once, yeah. He scored some crackers.
He
scored some absolute crackers at Fulham as well. I think he scored a cracker that's always on like Premier League years and stuff.
Yeah, well, anyway, and Dean West did a similar sort of thing. They were coming across him away at Stoke, the furthest net from us. We were behind the goal opposite. He leathered it, and not one point did it look like it was going in until the last minute when it just swerved back in. It was Roberto Carlos-esque, if it is my memory of that. But some finish. So that's one of them. Do you remember, this is a shit goal, but I buzzed off it at the time. Do you remember Demetrius Papadopoulos?
I do remember him. He was a legend.
Do you remember when he scored that header when he went nigh on vertical?
No, I don't.
He scored an header. He might for this. It weren't like I said, like a worldy goal, but he's basically run and gone in this shirt that's possibly a 4XL and just jumped, and he's been hovering, and he's gone. And there's a picture of him in the Burnley Express, and I remember seeing it like a day or two afterwards, and he's just hit it vertically, but he's at the same height as everyone else's head, and he's jumped. So that were a good one in my memory of goals. If someone has any more info on that, get in touch because I can see it, but I can't remember any of the build up to it. What else is there? Well, there's 2. God, people are going to be like shouting at the telly, aren't they?
Telly now. If you've got a smart TV, just go on YouTube, follow TurfCast Podcast on the YouTubes, and there we are. Get on your big telly. Fantastic.
We're shouting at it now, saying, how can you not be saying this goal? But when you're on this under the pressure, it's not been put in the running order. I can only deal with what I've been given.
Here we go, another dig. There's a lot that stand out for me. There's Joey Barton's free kick at Preston, Joey Barton's free kick at Brentford. Jay Rodriguez, do you remember when he took everybody on against Peterborough?
Yeah.
And just slotted it in? There were that one. I think Jay Rodriguez in the capital. Well, there were one where he did something similar against Fulham, but it weren't. That's not the particular goal. Yeah. I'm on about the capital punishment. That's what I'm going to say. There's one where he scored in the capital punishment run in the cup that year. There's that one. Kevin McDonald's away at City in the Premier League year when we were 2-0 up, went 3-0 down, and that's absolute scenes. That one. There's quite a few. There's Robbie Blake's at home to Preston, the free kick. Robbie Blake loves scoring against Preston. There were when we equalised 3-3 at home to Spurs in the cup that year, the same year. Obviously, what happened after that, we'll forget all about that. But that actual goal and that emotional attachment to that goal as well were just absolutely insane. So there's quite a lot for people to get in touch and say. But like I said, head over to the Pitch Football app. Go on.
Here's a couple of random ones for you. Gifter Noah Williams' third goal to make his hat-trick.
Against
Barnsley. I can't remember the goal. But the celebrations after it with the beach running towards it, that's always stuck in my memory. That'll never leave my memory. Glenn Little, Bristol Rovers, I think it was. And
Bristol Rovers?
That kind of I think it was against Bristol Rovers. And he just did that thing where he's gone in as if he's going to cross it. And then he's got it onto his right foot, but then chopped it back on his left foot, back onto his right foot. So he's like, oh, is he going to cross again? No, cuts in, takes one on. And you know when you get to that point where you're infuriated because he's now in the box and he does another chop, and you think, just fucking take a bit like Vidra.
I was going to say, that's Vidra's move, innit? That's Vidra's move.
Yeah.
Vidra gets it, cuts in, out, and puts it in net half at time, to be fair.
It was a promotion year, if I remember correct. So someone might have that video. But yeah, he took 2-1, if I remember. And then he got to the third. I'm like, fucking take. And then he just put it past keeper. And I think Bristol were flying at that point as well. And that were a massive sort of like statement for us, that goal.
Well, I'll try and look for that Bristol Rovers one. And try and get that one out there on the socials this week. Anyone else has got any that they want to mention? And like I said, head over to the Pitch Sport app now. Just you like what?
I'm just interacting, mate.
Interacting. Fair enough. Yeah. I'll try again with this link. So if you wanna put your goals in, let us know your response. Head over to the Pitch Football app. Just tell them that you follow Burnley when you're signing up if you haven't already signed up, and then the video of my beautiful mug. Or ugly mug, however you want to say it, will be there, and you can answer all the questions. That one next to this one.
That's a beautiful mug.
That one. This one's better. But yeah, just head over to that, download it, answer the question, and what I will do is I will get it on the hashtag Burnley Goals on Sunday, which we've started doing on the TurfCast social media channels, because I were bored, so I wanted to see some Burnley goals. So I clipped some Burnley goals up, stuck them out there. It's had a fantastic response. It's had around, well, I don't know, I've not been looking. I bet it's had over 20,000 views on all the goals on all the socials so far, probably even pushing 30,000. Go on.
Last one on the goals. He's got to be my favourite, and I can't believe he's just come back to me. But Robbie Blake's Man United footballer.
Yeah, that's that. We did that. That's one of the main ones. So we did that on the first week of Burnley Goals on Sunday. But yeah, a lot of people. A lot of people will say that one as well. I think that one was one of mine. It is one of mine. But obviously that one at Reading from Patterson, it was just absolutely incredible. Because I remember at the time, I think I've said before, just thinking like, why is he hitting this when he hit it? Same with Micah Hard at Blackburn. Do you remember Micah Hard's at Blackburn? In the cup when we got beat. Yeah, Brad Friedel, and it was the same sort of thing, because we kept having long range shots on that one, and when he hit it, I initially just threw my head back and went, oh, for God's sake, why has he hit this? I looked down just in time to see Friedel sort of like stretching at the top of his reach, and then the ball just nestling in top corner, like this, the net bulging like that, and just going, yeah, absolutely mental, absolutely seen. So that was one of mine until that Patterson one, but just get in touch, let us know your favourite goals. If you get in touch, like I said, via the Pitch Football app, we will try and find them on wherever, and then we'll clip it up and put it on the social media channels, and hopefully you can all see your favourite goals. So you'd want to see the Glenn Little one against Bristol Rovers and the Dimitris Papadopoulos one potentially on hashtag Burnley Goals on Sunday. I will look out for them and try and get them out there.
Dean West, don't forget that one.
Dean West at Stoke as well. You know one that always, before I move on, always stands out in my mind at Stoke. We used to always win at Stoke, didn't we? There were a chant of "We always win at Stoke" because we always won at Stoke. It's factually correct.
Good lyrics, yeah.
Yeah, well, there you go. I remember Ali Pickering scoring an absolute screamer there once in, what were it, late 90s, early 2000s? I can't remember. Absolute screamer it were. Ali Pickering. Might be mid-90s as well now. I can't even remember. But he scored a screamer there as well. We used to always win there. We used to always saw screamers as well. Right, moving on. Obviously this week, Mike Garlick put out a statement. Well, the club put out a statement on their website about there being a £50 million shortfall if the Clarets don't finish this Premier League season. And then in this chairman, he said things like, it's a completely unprecedented situation that we and other Premier League clubs face currently, and which we could not have foreseen in any way only just a few weeks ago. It's now not just about Burnley or any individual club anymore. It's about the whole football ecosystem, from the Premier League downwards, and all the other businesses and communities that feed from that ecosystem. Now, obviously, first of all, what did you make of that statement? I thought that statement, and just before I get on to you, Simon, I've spoke with Alex James from Lancs Live about this subject, and I put this question to him. I thought the timing of this statement were a little bit strange, not necessarily in a negative way, but just playing devil's advocate here. I thought that maybe, because this statement came, I think, the day after the clubs had all met up and had this video call to chat about what could happen in terms of the Premier League season, and then this statement was put out that day. So I think that Mike Garlick here was sort of like nailing his colours to the mast a little bit of like, right, we need to get this Premier League season finished no matter what, because maybe there were a few discussions in there about potentially cancelling it or just playing it behind closed doors and maybe not even streaming it or whatever. So I just thought the timing was a little bit weird.
Yeah, it's not something I know anything about. I'm not going to pretend to know about it. The only thing I do know is the ecosystem that he refers to, which is sort of like the triangle point is football, and then it all filters down through everything from the community team that's got a charitable funder, but it's charitable funder from Premier League and the lottery. So without the Premier League funding there, that where they're going to cut corners, the first thing they're going to do is cut it to the community. Secondly, there's the jobs that are in the community. There's the kids that get things from the community. There's people like me that go cutting their hair, and there's people that clean the cars, and there's people that there's a lot of things. I know they still got money for football, don't get me wrong, but this whole thing is affected. And if it affects football in the future, who knows how far this will stream down? Is what my point is. Yeah,
fair enough. I don't know if you saw it as well, but later on that day, Mike Garlick went on Sky Sports News and he essentially said, and I'll quote him directly here, that the club will run out of money by August. And that, in turn, created these headlines in the likes of The Sun, who obviously we all know can't be trusted, and other tabloid newspapers as well. Basically, it said Burnley will go bust by August, which isn't what Garlick said, was it? And then it caused all this mass hysteria of fans going mental, Blackburn fans sharing it, thinking, get in, Burnley, going to go bust. Just, if you had a brain cell to rub together between a lot of you, then you'd understand that isn't what he said. But what did you think of all that mass hysteria then? I presume you were quite calm in it all, because obviously you'd have seen what he'd said, and that's not what he'd said at all.
Yeah, you know me, mate. I like reading the tweets. I don't necessarily respond to them. I might ring you up and have a vent to all the people that tweet me giving me grief all the time. You'll very rarely
shout out
see
to
me
them boys if they're listening.
Yeah, you'll very rarely see me react to that, if at all react to that. But I might go and vent to you, and I just find things like that sort of comical. I always find that if you talked about in any way, shape or form, as it's commonly known, is good press, isn't it? And if you say it to me often, we're living in the Reds rent free, and if that's what we're doing, and if we're causing hysteria in there, I think Stoke used to do it, mate. Stoke used to cause the same hysteria. Then we're causing it, and what would Stoke do to be in the position that we're in now?
Well, what I found quite interesting was Man City fans taking a lot of joy out of these headlines, which, as I've said, weren't correct anyway. So all that joy was misplaced. And Man City fans, especially a certain City page who I can't remember, I would name and shame, but off the top of my head I can't remember, something like City Extra, City Special, something crap like that. And they were sort of like sharing
City fans.
Something like that, yeah. And they were sharing it going, sort of like, they were going like, ha ha ha, like, only like this time last week they were telling UEFA not to let us into Europe. I mean, Burnley only put that suggestion forward and agreed with, I think there were 8 other Premier League clubs or 7 other Premier League clubs, because you broke the rules, and if you break the rules, you deserve to be punished. So I've got no issues with Burnley doing that. But
we said that because we worked tirelessly hard to make sure that our shit's together. Because we don't have the income they have.
So we're the other side of it, where City just sort of like throw loads of money at it, try and bend every rule in the book about it, whereas we just do everything by the book, and we've tried so hard to get the positions that we're in, and you get these other teams flouting the rules. Yeah. So why should we miss out on Europe because of them? Yeah, exactly. So I've got no issue with Burnley doing that, but they were getting a bit taking these headlines and basically trying to take the piss. But anyway, as I mentioned earlier, I spoke to Alex from Lancs Live. He's a sports reporter over at Lancs Live that covers Burnley. I spoke to him on this subject. First of all, Alex, thanks for joining us on TurfCast Podcast.
No problem, my pleasure. Thanks for having us.
I want to start by just getting your thoughts on the statement put out by Burnley this weekend, and then the comments from Mike Garlick later that day on Sky Sports News, where he said, and I quote him directly here, that the club will run out of money by August.
Yeah, I think that interview is what seems to have sparked a couple of the tabloid newspapers and their responses to that been read as Burnley could go bust. I do think, we didn't report it quite like that. I do think there's a difference between not having any income, e.g. running out of money, and going bust. I I think Burnley, of all the Premier League clubs, are one of the best run in terms of, as we all know from the accounts that were released last week, showed a profit for the third successive season. And I think from Mike's point of view, releasing a statement to try and keep the fans in as much of the loop as possible, and it's pretty rare that he comes out and releases statements like that, and it's pretty rare for Premier League chairmen across the board. I think I've only seen Arsenal and maybe a couple of others with people at that level actually coming out and releasing statements. So he's got good intentions there to just sort of paint the picture of what things are actually like at Burnley and to be as transparent as possible. The issue, I think, then is that things get twisted. Perhaps the interview with Sky Sports, the way he dealt with that could have been better. I didn't actually hear that as it went out, but I did hear his interview with 5 Live yesterday, and I thought he was spot on in pretty much everything he was saying there. It was a common sense interview that answered any of the questions, allayed any fears of the club going bust, and seems to have sort of nipped that's kind of non-story, as it were, in the bud a little bit.
Yeah, what did you make of all them headlines then? Because it wasn't what he said, was it? Because in them headlines, like the Sun, the Mirror, a couple of others as well, they all essentially just said Burnley will go bust by August. But as you've said, he didn't actually say that, did he? He said they will run out of money by August, and not having an income and going bust are two completely different things. Yeah,
that's how I read it was. And Burnley won't be the only club. Obviously, if there's no football happening, if the TV broadcast companies are withholding potential payments and there's no match day income, and they're paying out, millions of pounds a year in wages, then it doesn't take a maths genius to work out that they're not going to be bringing in any money. However, I would imagine at that point there will be, or probably a point we won't get to. I think the season will resume, but if and as Mike said, it was a worst case scenario. If there was no clear date for next season and they decided that's it for this season, then some sort of common sense approach will surely be taken to prevent clubs sort of running out of money and not being able to pay players, as we've seen with the Premier League being able to put that money to the EFL clubs, sort of advance that money to them. You would imagine something similar would be set up so that clubs like Burnley and any other team who perhaps can't call on a millionaire or multi-billionaire owner to plough in more money can have some sort of access to financial resource. It doesn't stop them, I would imagine, asking for a loan from somewhere either. The same way as if anybody else was suddenly not had an income, doesn't mean they're going to be declared bankrupt the next day. There's other avenues. Might be able to put some money in himself. We don't know, but I don't think it'll come to that anyway. So, as he said, it was a worst case scenario and was probably taken perhaps slightly out of context by some of the nationals. Whether that then led to him doing the follow-up interview with the BBC 5 Live, I don't know. But taking that interview in isolation, I thought he spoke really well. I thought he was spot on in what he was saying, and he even managed to get a plug for the food bank in, so he wasn't doing too badly.
No, definitely. I think he were definitely trying to respond to them headlines. I think with that 5 Live interview, I think he's seen them and thought, well, that's obviously been taken out of context. I'll go and try and quash these rumours now and stop the hysteria. But you touched on it briefly there. Like obviously you mentioned that. Obviously he's mentioned the fact that we could be running out of money. And then certain things such as maybe having to get a loan and stuff. Like, what sort of challenges are the clubs going to be facing then? Well, Burnley particularly, obviously, like you've said, we're all the football clubs all over the country, in fact, all over the world, are all in this position. So what sort of challenges do you think Burnley as a club themselves will face over the next weeks, months, maybe even years? Yeah,
in the short term, it's obviously a loss in match day income, which every club will budget for. I would be staggered if there was a club in the country who thought we better just keep some money in reserve in case there's a global pandemic that means we can't play for 6 weeks, 10 weeks. But as we saw in the accounts, I think the chairman said himself that was going to be sort of maybe 5 million. It's the broadcasting money that Burnley and plenty of other clubs, but particularly Burnley, are reliant on. I think in the accounts that they released for 2018-19, it was around 80 to 85% of their income is broadcast money, which is obviously a massive percentage. I think there's probably only a couple of clubs, Bournemouth off the top of my head, that have got a higher percentage than that. So if there was a delay in the broadcast money, that's obviously going to have a knock-on effect on Burnley's finances. The good news from Burnley's point of view, which most Premier League clubs can't say, is that there's money in the bank, as it were. I think that was just over 40 million looking at the last accounts. So they have got that sort of cash reserve, almost like a rainy day fund. The other way to look at that, is lots of clubs have got owners with not bottomless pits of money, but certainly a lot of money that they are prepared to invest. Burnley aren't owned by billionaire owners. They're not a Manchester City or a Chelsea. So they do have to put their cost accordingly on that. And there will be challenges, undoubtedly, as there will for all clubs. But the good news from Burnley's point of view is I do think we will see the season start again. That allows the broadcast money to come in. That allows everybody to sort of take stock a little bit and get back on their feet as and when football resumes.
Yeah, but what did you make of the timing of the statement? Because it didn't come long after the meeting with all Premier League clubs. Just playing a bit of devil's advocate here, could it be a case of Burnley just kind of nailing their colours to the mast, that they need the season to restart, and then because of this statement and the interviews, putting a little bit of pressure on the FA and the Premier League to try and sort of like get something in place that they'll be told the broadcast money won't be withheld or whatever, or they'll be told that the season will definitely continue, even if it's in a year?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, it might be a little bit naive. I do think Burnley were trying to communicate as much as they possibly could with supporters about the current situation. The fact that they're not furloughing staff, we may or may not come onto that, but the fact that they're not furloughing full-time non-playing staff is a really good move. And that's something that other clubs haven't done. And we've seen Liverpool this week do a U-turn on that and in the end follow the position that Burnley set out. So there is that resource and that confidence from the Burnley board that they're in a position to pay those non-playing full-time members of staff for the next 2 months. I think it was Mike said it might be reviewed in June or July. So there must be a bit of confidence there that there isn't any huge financial pressure, and everybody knows that all the clubs voted for the season to carry on. Every club will want this Premier League campaign to be played to a conclusion on the pitch, whether that's behind closed doors or not, to enable them to finish the season, sort out points, positions, prize money for finishing 10th, 9th, 8th, I think varies by just over 2 million. So that all comes into play as well. But every club wants that outcome to be on the pitch. If it's behind closed doors, then so be it.
Yeah, you've mentioned it there briefly, the behind closed doors thing. I think fans obviously don't want that to happen, especially the fans that go onto the games and stuff like that. Do you think the clubs would probably prefer that to happen than nothing? Because obviously, like you said, if it does go behind closed doors and every single game is streamed, for example, if that does happen, obviously they will then get just as much broadcast money, if not more. So that could actually be, again, playing devil's advocate, be a positive thing for football clubs themselves.
Yeah, 100% the clubs will have the view that if we have to complete the season behind closed doors, although not ideal, I think everybody would rather play in front of a full stadium, then they will do that. 100%. I don't think any Premier League club would argue against that proposal, because what is key here is that the season is concluded so that we aren't having these, what happens if Liverpool aren't crowned champions? How do we work out who should be relegated? What about promotion from the Championship? And all these endless conversations that, let's be honest, we don't know the answer to. Let's enable us to not have those and try and conclude the season as and when it's safe, obviously, behind closed doors. And will it, if supporters can stream every game and or it's made available to watch on Sky or on BT or wherever it might be, then at least those guys and girls who come on every week can watch their team play as they would do it at the turf on a Saturday.
You've mentioned the club accounts briefly. Obviously, they came out just before all of this. I think last week, didn't they, the club accounts? You've said there's around 40 million in the bank. You've mentioned as well that they're not furloughing any staff. I think them 2 points just perfectly show the fact that Burnley aren't going to go bust and they're not going to do a burray.
No, I don't think there's any danger of Burnley going bust. I do think that as we know, and every football fan up and down the country will be the same, but we always want the owners to spend a little bit more money in the transfer market or a little bit more money on a wage structure to enable clubs to attract certain players. But the way Burnley are and the way Burnley have been run under Mike's stewardship, you can't really argue with it. They're not someone who's relying on, a 60,000 crowd every week and thousands of pounds coming in the hospitality. It's a small ground by Premier League standards. It doesn't bring in reams of match day income. So they've got to cut their cloth accordingly. That's why they are reliant on a broadcast deal to a large degree, because other streams of income, the ticket prices aren't expensive, I wouldn't say. I think they're pretty reasonable for the season tickets. They're pretty reasonable for match day tickets. They don't hike the prices up year on year from Premier League campaign to Premier League campaign. Hence the reliance on that broadcasting money, really. But lots of Premier League clubs will be in the same boat. Lots of clubs are reliant on that broadcasting money.
I feel kind of, this is just a final point from me, I do feel kind of sorry for Mike Garlick in this, because obviously clubs are often criticised, there's not enough transparency, you need to tell us what's going on. Burnley get the criticism themselves in January transfer windows and summer transfer windows when we're not spending a lot of money. People's like, well, we need to know what's going on, where's all the money, them sort of comments. And now Mike actually comes out, he's fully transparent and says, look, this will happen if this doesn't happen and blah, blah, blah. We are in this exact position. And then it's just twisted by the national media. Next thing you know, he's having to do other interviews to basically not backtrack, but to sort of say, right, that's not what I meant, this is what I meant. I do kind of feel sorry for him a little bit in that respect.
Yeah, and to be honest, I agree with you a little bit as well. I think what the other thing is, journalists like myself who cover Burnley sort of day in, day out, week in, week out, can apply a little bit of knowledge to the situation, and I would instantly know that Burnley are in a profit over the last couple of years, and they've reported a profit for 3 years on the spin, whereas somebody perhaps who's coming at it from outside, in the same way that I wouldn't claim to know the ins and outs of other Premier League's finances, might just look at it in the cold light of day and take that statement in isolation, and jump to perhaps the wrong conclusion and maybe get 2 + 2 = 5. Whereas if you look at it in the whole situation of the club and what we know about the club as people who sort of follow Burnley and work and live around Burnley, you can sort of use that knowledge to be applied and perhaps reach a slightly more measured conclusion.
Yeah, well, hopefully that's put a few people's minds at ease there, Alex. Thank you for joining us this week on TurfCast Podcast.
Not a problem, Jay. Thanks for having us.
Right, so big shout out to Alex for joining us on TurfCast Podcast. Now that big shout out to Simon, by the way, because now that you've found this new software that we are currently using to do the Skype calls and record all this video, we're going to be able to do a lot more stuff like that. So shout out to Alex. I'm pretty sure you'll hear from him again on the podcast over the next coming months and years, because hopefully we're going to be around for a while. Now we're going to move on to something that you got in touch with me, Simon, this week, and you wanted me to put this to you on the podcast about Burnley Football Club still taking season ticket money out of people's accounts. Obviously, the issue that you have, or the issue that I feel that you have, obviously you can speak about your thoughts in a minute, is that the season's obviously not on at the minute, but yet the club are still taking money out of everyone's accounts. Obviously, if you've paid by direct debit, that is, of course, which I think the majority of us do, they're still taking season ticket money out of people's accounts. So what did you want to say on this, mate?
It weren't just necessarily something that I wanted to say. It was just more of a case of, I wondered what the thought process of the majority of Burnley fans were, because God forbid you say anything negative about Burnley Football Club and they come down like a ton of bricks. So I daren't say nothing like that. But what I am saying is, it's quite easy for Burnley to release statements consistently saying, we are paying our casual staff and we are still doing our matchday staff things, and we're going to pay them. So they get all this praise, but then they're not even contacting the fans to say, listen, just so you know that your £30 to £35 that we're taking off you for your season ticket, don't worry, it's this. No, I know they don't know the answer, but like I said, they're quick to ask for the praise in one direction instead of just contacting the casual staff, but they're not quick to communicate with the fans that they're actually paying for these casual staff. That was my inquiry.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really necessarily... Obviously, I think the point that Burnley will make and the point that I agree with and why I don't necessarily have an issue with it, I'm not saying that you do, but I'm just saying the reason why I don't have an issue with them taking the money out of my account, your account, my dad's account, everyone who's got a season tickets account who pays by direct debit, is the fact that the season is just suspended. It's not been fully cancelled, obviously, so that'll be the argument that they make. And if at any point the season did get cancelled, I would put my neck on the line and say I'm pretty confident that Burnley be like, right lads, obviously you paid for this bit there, you can have that 30 quid back. I would
Oh,
presume so. And if at any point that Burnley, if the season did get cancelled and Burnley would be like, no, we're keeping that, you give it us, then yeah, that's a dick move. But I don't think they'd do that.
No, I dare say they won't, but you're talking to a guy here who's paying £100 more for his season ticket than what the seat is I'm sat in because of bad advice given to me. So, you know, I'm not, that's certainly not being vented, but I'm saying I wasn't expecting that to happen. And I've just let it go because I can't be honest dealing with it, so I'm paying the extra. But what I'm saying is, in my business, I have had to contact my clients to say, listen, just so you know, that deposit you paid for that appointment, you know, peace of mind, don't worry about it. It's going on to the next appointment.
Yeah.
It's a given. I know that my season ticket will commence when the season starts. But it's just a given that normal people, in normal business sense, would they contact that person and say, don't worry about it, or an email, you know.
Yeah, so basically all you're saying is you would have liked a bit of communication from the club to say, look, we're still taking the money out of your account. If X, Y, and Z happens, then we will respond in this way. If ABC happens, then we will respond in that way. Or this is what your money is doing, helping us do at the moment, sort of thing.
Because, I mean, not everybody, excuse me, not everybody's got the disposable income at the minute. No. And that 30 to 40 quid in a household could be £100 for season tickets for kids and etc. And I'm just saying that £100, is it? I don't know if it's up to me to pay for a service that I'm not actually getting at the minute, and say, am I all right to not pay it this month? That's my kind of thing, because I'm quite fortunate that my season ticket prices for everyone I can afford, and I'm blessed and I'm grateful. But some people aren't as blessed and grateful, and should they be taking their £100 per household off them when it's shit as it is?
Yeah, that's fair enough. Let us know what you think, everyone. If you think Burnley should be doing a little bit more on that side of things, or they should be cancelling the season ticket direct debit payments, or just a bit of communication from the club to sort of like say, look, the season's still going on, and so we're still going to be taking your money. If it's cancelled, then we won't, and you'll get it back. So let us know what you think, everyone. Right, well, that's it for episode 34 of TurfCast Podcast. Thank you if you've listened once again, or if you're one of the people that have watched our first ever vodcast, as we call it now. It'll be on the YouTubes. I might even put it out on the Facebooks as well, stream it. I'll decide in a bit after COD later. Are you going on COD, by the way, mate?
See you there, Bob.
Yeah, I'll see you on COD in about 10 minutes. But yeah, shout out to all you guys. If you are listening and you wanna go and give it a watch, just search TurfCast Podcast on YouTube, and that's where we are. And as usual, please follow us on all the social medias: Facebook, Twitter, as mentioned, YouTube, and now TikTok. Just search TurfCast Podcast. And if you haven't already, please press subscribe to the podcast, and of course now to the YouTube. So thanks again for listening /watching, and we'll see you next week. Bye.